Okay, let's start. We'll start at the back table right now. We'll change up and rotate different tables so we won't start with the first this table first anymore. So what was your idea about confidentiality?
Protecting personal privacy.
That's it in just about a nutshell, isn't it? Okay. What can this table tell us? Who's going to be our leader over here?
Not sharing private information with others.
True. Very, very true. Especially when you're outside of the school building. Okay, how about this table here? Who's our leader?
Me again.
You got the chosen one. You won't have to do it next time.
Confidentiality is just not sharing information that's shared with you.
Good. How about you three?
Not much else to say about it. Respecting privacy of students and family.
I like the word respecting. Okay, that was good. As you notice, we all said about the same thing. Okay, sometimes we get in a bind. You have students in your classroom that you're responsible for, and you know the parents like to come to you if they see you in the store or see you out somewhere and start talking about their child, and you know you want to be able to converse with them, but yet we have to watch what we have to say, because you know we don't really want to get in a conversation that's going to lead to some kind of trouble. So you know, lots of times, and I know you all have been into Walmart and places, and you see the teachers talking. I've actually witnessed hearing things. It wasn't in Walmart, but it was in a grocery store. An aide talking about a student, but it was to the student's aunt. We can't do those types of things, and if I can hear it from the aisle over, I don't know who was on the aisle, on the other side of the aisle. But when that happens, you know, then you're wondering, oh my goodness, are they going to go out and say this, and this? You know, are they going to go to mom and say, well, I know what you call it did today or whatever? You know, we can't do that. We can't expose that child to anyone except the legal guardian of that child. And that's just the way it is. So we just have to watch what we say. And I understand parents really want to know what their students are doing in school. How are they doing? And they want to ask you all this stuff. And what I would say is that, you know, if you really want to know what your child's doing, you need to talk to the child's teacher. Let the teacher tell. And the teacher can and the issue is about calling them on the telephone. They can't say anything over the phone because they don't know who's on the other end of the phone. We don't know their voice. Okay, so we don't know who's on the other end of that phone. They need to come in so we can actually see them and make sure that they are the legal guardian of that person. Sometimes we don't realize how it can get us into trouble. And that's what I'm trying to present today, is to try to keep anyone from getting into trouble. It is trickling down this way. We do have a few lawsuits. It's in the Sixth Circuit, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, we don't want that to happen. You all are great people. You serve those children well. You really care about them, or you wouldn't be here. And we want you to keep your jobs. Okay, so the cheat sheet, the PowerPoint, it had stuff on it. But anyway, just what we said, protection of all personal identifiable data, information, and records collected, used, or maintained by the Perry County or your school district, because we have more than one school here. There's another one there. Okay, it also requires apply to discuss about students and the students' records. So there are a requirement. There's policies and procedures. I don't know if you all know about that, but there should be those in every school. And in Section 9 of that policies and procedures, it talks about the students and what we can and cannot do and what can happen if we do something we shouldn't be doing. All right, so definition. Those students in attendance in person or by paper correspondence, video conference, satellite, internet, or electronic information, and telecommunication technologies for students who are not physically present in the classroom. All right, COVID hit. We all went to Chromebooks. Okay, so we have breakout rooms. I don't know what you all did during that time. I'm sure y'all had to work and did something. But I don't know what, but I know you all do a lot of stuff. So when that hit, then we started all this video stuff, all this technology, any way to try to get the student to learn. So those things are private. So what came about that is that one of the parents was on the video with their child, which that's understandable, okay? Because sometimes our kids need help. They have a hard time even getting on a Chromebook. So parents have to help. But we had another parent to complain that that person was on there because her daughter had said that there was a parent on there and told the child's name so they knew who the parent was. People, that's just crazy to me. But needless to say, you know, I guess they wanted her to get the child on the computer and then walk away. Sometimes you can't do that. Are they going to pay attention? If you're not standing by them, probably not. Because their attention span's very short, very short. So, you know, sometimes we look at things and we're thinking, how silly is that? But it can get us in trouble. All right, what laws protect a student's records? It's called FERPA, Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. This law, Kentucky regulations, the IDEIA. The I here, it used to be IDEA, but now it's improvement. It's been there for a while. So 2004. So it's the Individuals Education Improvement Act. And then you have Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. That serves our special ed population as well as our 504. 504 students do not have instructional assistants. Our special education students do. Then you've got HIPAA. You all go to the doctor. They give you this paper. It tells you what they can do and what they can't do. Well, we're in the same shape. So, health insurance and portability and accountability. So we have to make sure that we're not out discussing our students to anyone. That's just the main thing. And if you had this feeling in your gut as parents talking to you or maybe their relatives talking to you, take that feeling. Just say, "Oop, I can't do this. Got to talk to the teacher." Now, what are educational records? This is going to surprise you because it is so many things. All right, so you have your personal and your family data. You have your evaluations, the test data, 504 plans, progress reports, and your report cards, work samples, attendance records, written accounts of parent and teacher, your conferences. Sometimes you might sit in on a conference with your student that you're taking care of because they need your input because you're with that student. Audio and videotapes. Most of the time we have a handbook that goes out to the parents and they give us permission if we can video or take pictures of their child and put them in the newspaper, those types of things. So we either decline it or we can accept it. So if they decline it, then that means we can't have no pictures taken, okay? Electronic information that's stored on cell phones, PDAs, database, instant messaging, voicemail and recordings, and that's not all. Well, how did that do that? Okay. All right, so you have biometric records. Do you all, I don't know if your school participated in this or not, but sometimes they had the kids to come in and they had to put their eyes up against the device, and it told who the kid was when they went in to the school building, and it took your temperature and all that kind of stuff. That was when we had the COVID. We can't share those kinds of things. We can't share those visual things. We can't do that. So, there's more things that we have. Fingerprints, voice prints, the retina and iris patterns, and that's what it picks up on the piece that we had there. DNA sequence, facial characteristics, and handwriting. So what does personal, I'm not even touching that, okay. What does personally identifiable information mean? Maybe it don't want me to do that slide. It just keeps going. Yeah. Well, they've been in here for 30 minutes this morning trying to get this going. We had 4 IT people in here. So I don't know what it is. But anyway, we'll get through it. It's not even going nowhere. Let me just get my paper. When all else fails, just go to your paper. Okay, let's see what slide we're on here. Should be, which one? Okay. We have to improvise sometimes, don't we? That just don't make any sense. Okay, so forget it. Just forget it. Okay, so when we look at that, we see the name of the child, the name of the parent, other family members. We have to fill out those enrollment paper forms and stuff for the school. Address of the child, your student identification number, your indirect identifiers, like our birth date, where we were born, those types of places, your mother's maiden name. Information that can be used alone or in combination of other specific things to link it to the child. Characteristics or other information to identify the child. So, we had another issue, and I'll just tell you about this one, but there was a site-based member that knew something about a room. It had some students in it, and this one student was always getting into trouble. Well, the police come to that house, his house, and they were there, whatever, how they do. So the person just assumed that that child was getting taken out and taken somewhere, detention or whatever. So, how gossip starts. Well, that wasn't even the issue. It wasn't even the issue with the child. But yet, they already had it out, and it was already full-blown all over the place. So, everybody has to watch what they say. Because if they want to come back, they can really get you, especially when you find out who the culprit is of it. So we don't want to do any of that. Okay, so how does a school district ensure that students' information and records are kept private? We don't talk about it. I know it's got all that stuff there. We just don't talk about it. Make sure all staff is trained. The first thing that they'll say, the lawyer, was this person trained in confidentiality? And then when that person gets up on the stand, you know how they talk to you like you're this high, and it makes you feel so bad that you just want to scream sometimes. But anyhow, you have to watch what you say. School-based councils, they're not allowed to look at school records either. Okay, they're not allowed to look at those records. They're not allowed to say, I want to look at such and such teachers' test scores for their students. Can't do that. Can't do that. They can't do that. School volunteers, cafeteria workers, student teachers, paraeducators, substitute teachers, bus drivers, bus aides, school nurses, office staff, custodians, and itinerant teachers. So that's not everybody, but I'm just going to say everybody. We have to watch what we say. If the parent needs to know something, the legal guardian needs to know something, they need to go to the school, and they need to talk to that teacher. That'll keep us out of hot water. So the right to inspect records, that's where it's stuck at. Parents, guardians, and eligible students must be allowed to inspect and review educational records within a reasonable time. Now, when we talk about eligible students, we're talking about those students that are 18 years and older. Okay, they're emancipated. They can see their own records. Kentucky recommendations are to respond to parental requests within 3 days. It's best if you can respond within 24 hours if possible, because it kind of gets irritating if they have a real question that is bearing and you're going to wait 3 days to do that. So we have to watch what we're doing and try to be with our parents as much as we can. And we do have what you call a Kentucky Open Record Statute. So parents can come in, guardians can come in, their legal guardians can come in, because now a lot of times we have grandparents and family members raising somebody else's child. So the legal guardian has to sign a paper. They have to fill out a paper and sign it. And then they can see the records of that child. Confidentiality breach process. All right, so it requires an investigation by the district. They have to do their own investigation. Reported to KDE Legal Counsel and the Attorney General's office. All right, could also be reported to the federal level. So we don't want to get it that out there, but we do have to make sure that the district does do their investigation, and they have to report it to KDE, what their findings are. And sometimes KDE will come out and do their own investigation if they see that it needs to go further, and then to the Attorney General's office. Contact to all parties involved in the breach. So whoever breached the information and anybody else that they know that it was told to, they have to do that. Plan development and follow-up reports to KDE Legal Counsel, and could also have follow-up from Attorney General's office and KDE. And I just said that just a few minutes ago when we talked about this other part. How do we ensure parents see information only about their child? Any more grade books are not kept. Some teachers still keep grade books, but it's very few. It's now on Infinite Campus, and I don't know if you all get on Infinite Campus or not. I don't know if your teachers allow you all to do that, to put grades in or something of that nature, but when requesting to review those grades, we have to make sure no other student is on that computer, on the screen, because they can't see nobody else's grades. If you go in to talk to a teacher or a principal or any of that nature, they cannot talk to you about any other child except your own. So I know some parents will come in and say, well, such and such gets to do whatever. Well, we can't talk about that. That's just something we can't talk about. And that could be something that a parent might come up to you about because they think you know more about it because you're in that school. And you can't talk about that. Okay, so you don't want to do anything because what are they going to do? They're going to run some, well, she told me. Oops. So we don't want to do that. They're written discipline reports. So when we're looking at discipline reports, we do not cite the other student's name. Like if they're in a fight with somebody, we don't put both names on there. We only have the discipline. We do 2 separate discipline reports, and they have their own name on each of the reports. They don't have the other one's name on there because parents can get a hold of that information because their child's involved in that. So we don't want to do that. And that has actually happened. That has happened. And I can see how it could happen because you're describing. When speaking with parents, do not mention another student's name. We've already talked about that. Do not discuss other students in meetings. We've talked about that a little bit too. So if you're involved in an ARC meeting When you go in there, you can't talk about another student, only the one that you're in there for. And we've already discussed this. Do not discuss other students at the grocery store, ball games, church, or anywhere. Okay, how do we ensure parents' information only about their child? Just don't share that information. We don't want to share it. We can't talk to grandparents unless they're legal guardians, or unless we have a notified statement saying that you can talk to that person. And sometimes we have that. Sometimes we'll have a single mom that works, and she'll maybe have her mom to sit in on ARC meetings. And so she has a notarized statement stating that she can receive the educational or sit in at the ARC meetings and discuss the child. But it has to be notarized. Okay, so each school must decide how to document for parent conferences and a method of storage. Because before they would have a list of the students, and on the other side you would sign in. Well, you can't have a list of the students. So we can't do that. So I guess mainly using QR codes is probably the best way to do anything. Faxing information. If you have to fax something, make sure that you have marked or stamped that piece confidential. You have to have that confidential. All right, so the next slide's up here for us. I think it's doing every other one. Every other one. Oh. It doesn't really matter. But thank you. All right, so you already kept this one. You can see it better.
Well, that's why
you can see it better. So when you're looking at the confidentiality in the email and telephone issues, we have this bill out now that we cannot have any kind of contact with students. So you have to, delete them off of your social media, those types of things. Coaches have the school district has their own way and own way to communicate with parents as well as ball players and parents. And it's monitored. Anybody can see it, that they have allowed to do that. So it's monitored. So, and we know why that's come about, because coaches are trying to talk with the students, and sometimes it gets bent out of shape and all that kind of stuff. So I can see that. It's not like the olden days when I was there. We used to be able to talk to them and all that kind of stuff, but it's kind of got out of hand. And we just have to watch what we say and don't give them any other way to make them think it's something else. Okay, so do not include students or teachers' names or grades in the email. Use a confidential statement. Like on mine, I have a confidentiality statement at the end of my email. So in case it was to go to some other person instead of who I sent it to, they're supposed to send it back to me and let me know. So sometimes that happens and sometimes it don't. But anyhow, include a confidential statement, signature, and then do not give any information over the phone. We talked about that because we don't know their voice. We don't know who it is. You can always identify the person on the other end of the line. You can't always identify the other person on the line. We talked about that. Here is a confidential statement if y'all ever want to use it. So it's in there for you. That's the one that I use. All right, so issues regarding electronic information. We live now in the era of technology. And I'm 65 years old, and when I went to college, we didn't have a computer. We had a typewriter. You do. So, technology is not anything I have issues with. This morning, it took us 30 minutes. We had 4 IT people in here trying to get this PowerPoint up. So, it don't surprise me, jumping all over the place like it is. But anyway, I have a hard time with that. And there goes one of my IT people. But anyway, he knows I'm always having problems with IT. Yes, he does. He's very good. All right, so the issues that we're having, the contents of personal information devices may prove to be very embarrassing, like this microphone I have on. I may forget to cut it off as I'm walking out the door and I'm talking to a parent about their student and my whole class is in there listening to it, okay? So we don't want to do that. All right, so, yeah. Yesterday, something really crazy happened. But anyway, that's beside the point. All right, so anyone working for a school district is not allowed to contact students on their social media, cell phones. We discussed that. School districts have their own account where staff and coaches can contact parents or players that can be tracked. So it's tracking now, and that's the law. We have to do that. Confidential information, here is some of the things. Lesson plans. So you can't leave your lesson plan laying out to where somebody can see it if it's got students' names on it. And more than likely, it's a special education students that have the names. Like you're doing some kind of specially designed instruction, or they have to go do speech at a certain time, or that type of stuff. Nothing bad, but we still can't have that for anybody else to see. So when we're doing a substitute folder, it must include the IEP, modifications, behavior intervention plans for students with special needs. Because whoever comes in there needs to know things. But we can't leave it laying out on our desk. We will have to put it in a filing cabinet, and they'll have to be able to pull it, or we have to give it to the principal, and they can hand it to them and tell them not to lay it on their desk. Unprofessional versus professional sharing of information. Most of us don't want to be unprofessional. We don't. Very, very limited unprofessionalism. But we do have people that do. When talking to a colleague about a student or his family, you apply these 4 questions that we're going to look at here in just a second to determine if the discussion may be a violation of the student's confidential rights. Okay, so what is discussed? Where the discussion takes place, who is listening, and why the discussion took place. So when you turn over on your PowerPoint, what is discussed? Most of the time, people just want to make general conversation, right? When you read it, you don't want to ignore people, but when you run into somebody, hello, how are you? How you doing today? And then, of course, they want to answer back, and the next thing you know, sometimes you're talking about things we don't need to be talking about. Is it time to go? So we have to make sure that we have to watch what we discuss. Now, if they're talking about their vacation or stuff like that, that's fine. That's fine. But we don't want to talk about anything educational. Where the discussion takes place, the only place it needs to take place is school. At school. Because at school, we know who is listening. We don't want to be in the hallway when there's kids going down the hall, teachers going down the hall. We want to be in a place that we can talk and nobody else can hear us. Why the discussion took place. So if it has anything to do with education, then the teacher needs to be the one to talk to the parent or the legal guardian. All right, who could access student records? Parents and or student representative. Student who is 18 years old or emancipated. Authorized employees of the district. So if some of you all have seen the blue folders that are out there, some of them are pink and yellow, it'll have contact log on there, and if you look in that folder, you have to sign your name, date, and why you're looking at it. When I go in a school district and have to look at the records, I have to do that. I have to sign in every time and why I am looking at it. So we have that. We also have that in Infinite Campus. Your teachers will do that in Infinite Campus. All right, staff from the U.S. or the State Department of Education, they're allowed. They can get in at the campus. They can see everything. Recording of access to records. A school must maintain a log. A written log is great, or typed in Infinite Campus, because we can't remember it here. I can't. Can't remember yesterday, much less last week. A log of must be documented the names of local, state, or federal authorities and officials that may make further disclosure of the information. So sometimes when KDE has to come in and they're going to do an investigation, they're going to be looking at those folders and they will have to sign in. Oh goodness, here we go. Do guardians, divorced or separated parents, foster parents, and surrogate parents have the right to review the student records? If you're divorced and you all are having issues, you have a hard time, don't do it together. We don't want y'all throwing the papers around. All right, so when we're looking at this, both parents have the right to view their child's records unless one of the parents' rights have been terminated, all right? And you all won't be involved in that, shouldn't be involved in that, okay? Shouldn't be involved in that. We have to have a copy of the divorce decree so we can see if the rights have been removed from a parent. We just can't take the, the opinion of the other spouse. Joint custody, so if both parents have joint custody, both of them can see the records. They can also are included in making all decisions for the child. Foster parents, they have a right to review the records, but they cannot make any educational decisions. And let me go a little bit farther. Have you heard of surrogate parents? Every school district is supposed to have 2 or 3 on file in case they can't find the legal children, the parents. So those surrogates can actually set in, and most of the time the foster parents are the ones that become the surrogate parents because they know a little bit more about the child than some of the others. So if they do the surrogate parent training, then they can do that. Parents can request interpretation of records. Sometimes we use those words that are about that long, and I can't even understand them. I have to look it up. So we don't want to do that. But if they want to know anything about it, we have to interpret what it means. And test scores is one thing that's hard too for them to understand, because sometimes when you're looking at behavior scores, sometimes we're looking for low scores, sometimes we're looking for high scores, and they don't understand that part of it. We have to explain it to them. And of course, translation must be provided in their native language. All right, so conditions where prior consent is not required. So disclosure within agency with a limited education interest to officials of another school, and Infinite Campus does transfer the records from one district to another in the state of Kentucky. We don't do them across state lines. Directory information, audit purposes, subpoenas or court order, financial aid, health and safety, or any other type of emergencies. Parents are annually given public notice of the types of information designated as directory information and given opportunity to refuse, and that's in that handbook that they give out to the students. And here is directory information. And I'm sure you all probably know every bit of this. Student's name, student address, their telephone number, the date of birth, any kind of activities that they're participating in, sports, their weight, their height, if they're a member of the athletic team, dates of attendance, and awards received. Oh, there's a mirror over there. I just kind of thought somebody walked by. May a student review and inspect his or her own records. All right, if the student is 18, they can do that. Or if they're married, they can do that. All right, how does the school district release information? Okay, we have to have a signed consent stating we can release the records to somebody. Special education students or students currently being evaluated submits to the special education department for your director. Not in special education, you still have to have a written request. Students' information may be released to the Department of Social Services, and you all understand that. Sometimes you will be, if your child's involved in something and social services comes in, you may be called down to the office, but it'll be confidential. You'll be in a room by yourself with whoever, and it could be a police officer with you, with them. So, you know, they may ask you some questions. So you may have that happen. All right, so the requirements. Every employee of any school district has to have confidentiality training. All student information should be kept confidential unless disclosure serves professional purposes or is required by law. And failure to do so may be in revoking or suspending a Kentucky certificate, which some of y'all may have a certificate, but if you don't, then you could lose your jobs. Protecting students' confidentiality is the law and the right thing to do. So here are some questions, and I want you to think about this. The children's daycare, the corner daycare, calls a local school district and requests that Sue's school records are forwarded to them. It is a small community, and the person receiving the call is familiar with the caller. Can these records be sent under these conditions? Think about it for a second. Who says yes? Oh, good. You all are good students. All right. The question is, no. We cannot release that. Number one, they are a different agency, and they're not even a public agency. Okay, so like we said before, we can send records to other places without consent, but this place is not even a public school, so we can't do that. And then we can't take anything over the phone because we don't know who that is. All right, so Amber's family moves to a neighboring county. The neighboring school district sent a request for the transfer of records. Can this information be forwarded without parental permission? Yes, now I told you that Infinite Campus can send within the state of Kentucky, but if it goes out of the state of Kentucky, you know, we'll have to get a consent. I'm answering that before we even get the thing up here, right? I'm going to have to do better. Jane is a bus driver and a parent at Brownsville Elementary School. Jane's close friend asked Jane to check on the progress of the friend's nephew, who also attends Brownville. Can Jane obtain this information? Who says yes, they can? Good. Nope, sure can't. Can't do that because she has no legitimate educational interest in that child. And if that's the case, then they have to have a written, notarized consent. Sandy lives with her grandparents. Sandy's parent has legal custody of Sandy, but they have a very limited role in the care of Sandy. Sandy's teacher would like to initiate a referral due to a suspected learning disability. Who has the right to give written permission to evaluate Sandy for the suspected disability? Now this is a little different. It's not a yes or a no one. Who says grandma can do it? Who says that it has to be the parents since they have legal custody? Okay. The ARC person, they have to determine who is going to be the representative of that child, acting as a parent. So, you all probably heard this before. Wherever the child sleeps at night, you know, they can do that. So we have that as well. So the ARC person can determine who the acting parent is, and as such as all the rights of a parent until the parent reappears to reclaim his or her rights. Therefore, Sandy's grandparents are acting as a parent and have the rights of a parent in making educational decisions. So if the parents are still retain educational rights for their child, they must be the ones to sign the permission. But this child, as you see, is staying with grandma, and grandma can be acting as a parent according to the parent definition in KDE. Matthew's natural father arrives at Matthew's school. He requests to see Matthew's school records. A review of Matthew's school records indicated that Matthew's parents are divorced and that Matthew lives with his mother. Can the school allow access to educational records to Matthew's father? Who says yes, they can? Has Matthew's rights been terminated? It don't say anything in here about his rights being terminated, so he can see those. Both natural parents are allowed access to the educational records of a child unless the school has been informed that the parent is not allowed due to some legal action, which means you have to have a court order. Okay, that's what that means. In fact, that Matthew's parents are divorced does not automatically take away his parental rights. If the school does not have a legal document stating that the parent does not have access, then the school allows the natural parent access to their child's educational records. So in the event that one of the parents' rights have been removed and the school does not have that document on file, they don't know it. So it's that person's job to make sure the school gets that copy of that paper. Mary is a parent member of a site-based decision-making council. Mary would like to have to look at a recent state test scores of all the students in Mrs. Reed's class. Does Mary have access to these records? No. Mary doesn't have the right, okay? The site-based decision-making member does not have access to personal identifiable information. Parent consent has to be given for each child in that case. Bonnie has recently separated from Fred. Bonnie and Fred are the natural parents of a student in your classroom. Bonnie sends you a note that Fred is not to have any access to any of their child's educational records. Can the school honor Bonnie's request? No, not unless she brings in that paper from the court documenting that. And again, this is a big piece. If they don't bring that document into the school does not know that. And if they share that information, it's not on them. It will be on the parent that should have brought it in. While shopping at Walmart, adult in the community asked you, how's that new guy in your class doing? I heard that the police came to the school this week and to interview him. What information can be released concerning this student? I see you shaking your head. Nothing. No information can be released. Your supervising teacher will be out for 3 days. This happens. And a substitute teacher has been hired. He asked you to put the names of the students who go out to resource and speech on the board and their times so he can keep up with the schedule. Can you write the names of special education schedule on the board? No. So, congratulations, you have just completed your confidentiality training requirements. Remember, you are held accountable for maintaining the confidentiality of students' information, both at work, at home, and in your community. So you don't have to do the feedback. You all would do a feedback in your last session today. They will have the code, and I think they give that to you all as well on your materials this morning. But I'm glad that I got to meet you. And if you have any questions, you have my information that you can contact me and I'll help you in any way.